I get very frustrated with the common conception of mania because my manic episodes are not euphoric. They're extremely dysphoric from the beginning.
You're listening to the latest dose of Bipolar Recorder. This podcast may cause dizziness and blurred vision. Enjoy.
Welcome back to Bipolar Recorder. My name is Hunter Keegan. Thank you so much for checking this project out. For this installment of the podcast, I was rejoined by a previous guest. Her name is Dalena. She is a 29-year-old woman living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She lives with bipolar type 1 and was featured on one of the most intense installments of the podcast that we've featured so far. She was on installment number 17, titled Dalena Just Got Out of the Psych Ward. That one came out a little over a year ago, back in March of 2022. Dalena and I stayed in touch since that original interview, and I invited her back on the show to talk about her journey over the last year since she got discharged from the psych hospital. I have a content warning for the show today. This installment does feature some conversation about not safe for work topics involving sex and hypersexuality. The reason we discuss this is because hypersexuality is actually a component of bipolar disorder for many individuals who live with this condition. Of course, due to its taboo nature, it doesn't really get talked about a lot. This part of the conversation does not get graphic, however, it does acknowledge the existence of sex in this world. Listener discretion is advised. As this recording picks up, Dalena and I are speaking casually over a Zoom call while she packs a joint. I left the audio in because I thought it was sort of amusing. Then, after a moment, the conversation picks up and Dalena reintroduces herself for the crowd, and we go from there. It was a great conversation, and I can't wait for you to hear it. Let's go ahead and get started.
So, yeah, you picked up an ounce, huh?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I got half an O the other day of some pretty fire shit.
Yeah, I bought half a while ago when I bought flour, but then it only lasted me a week.
I can narrate this shit like it's fucking NPR. Dalena shuffles around the room looking for a lighter. She continues to tamp the marijuana down into the paper cone.
Do a good job of this. I had to be tamping as I went. God, this is annoying. There we go.
Do you always smoke weed in the middle of the day?
Yeah, usually I'm at work in the middle of the day, so no. But if I'm
Yeah.
off, then yeah.
Got you.
Sometimes I don't. I was just like, oh, I kind of want to fucking smoke a joint while we record this pod.
Yeah.
To be fair, I kind of thought you were going to smoke too.
Oh, no, not on the podcast. That would be a little too insane. Okay. We have Dalena back on the show after over a year since her first appearance, and it's so exciting to have her back. Dalena, how are you?
I'm great. I'm now a year and a month post hospitalization, post prior appearance.
Okay, so it's been over a year since you got out of the hospital, just over a year. How has that journey been since getting out of the hospital?
Honestly, it's been pretty much like my life always is. It's been up and it's been down. And you're catching me on an upswing right now, so woo for that.
Awesome.
Um, but yeah, after I got out of the hospital, um, about a month after I got out of the hospital, my mom died. And things were still not great for a while, but they definitely started picking up once I got out of the hospital. Things started slowly improving. And then within a few months, I was doing great. I was doing everything I needed to get back into school and doing all these different things. And I did end up going back to school. And then I had another episode.
Mm-hmm.
I had another episode in September. I had a depressive episode starting near the end of that month, and it lasts about 6 months. I did not end up in the hospital this time. Wasn't the worst depressive episode I've had, but in a lot of ways, it wrecked everything all over again.
Mm.
And then, just like that post hospital period, things were kind of for a while, and like now here I am again.
Wow. So that is a lot of ups and downs. A 6 month long depression is pretty intense. How did you survive that?
It was complicated. I don't want to call it like low grade depression, but it wasn't quite the way my depressive episodes normally are. For the most part, like at the beginning at least, like I was able to get out of bed. Um, but as time went on, I lost all interest and ability to keep up with anything in my life. I ended up dropping out of school again. Not officially, I stopped going to school again. And that really compounded the depression, the stress and the anxiety and the disappointment over that made me get more depressed. I missed a lot of work. Um, I ended up in really dire financial straits.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and really, the way that I got through that was I kept going to therapy. I talked to my therapist every single week, even when I really didn't want to, because sometimes I just didn't have anything to talk about. I just didn't give a shit. But I talked to my therapist every week. I took my meds for the most part. Um, I didn't go any long stretches without taking my meds. The most I ever skipped my meds for was 2 or 3 days,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't great, but isn't a week either.
Were you skipping them on purpose?
I don't know. What do you mean by on purpose?
Like, were you intentionally skipping them to see if it would like help with your symptoms? Because sometimes people do that.
No, I
Okay.
was skipping them because I just couldn't be bothered.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
literally, if the pill, so I have a pill sorter, and if my pill sorter was empty, like, it'd take me like 3 days to bother refilling it.
Mm,
And opening 6 pill bottles in the morning was just out of the question. I
got
was just
you.
like, yeah, I'm not fucking doing that.
Too much trouble.
Yeah, honestly, everything was too much trouble. I just couldn't be bothered with anything.
Yeah. How old were you when you were first diagnosed with bipolar?
22 or 23. I can't quite recall. I think
Okay.
23.
And how old are you now?
I'm 29 now. I'll be 30 in November.
29 years young.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing. How many manic episodes would you say you've experienced since you were diagnosed at age 22 or 23?
Ooh, let me think. um, I had my first, since I was diagnosed, because I
Mm-hmm.
had a manic episode before I was diagnosed,
Oh, okay. So
but I
yeah, how
didn't,
many
nobody
total?
recognized it. So, how many total? So, I had my first one when I was 17.
Okay.
Um, I had one just before I turned 19. Um, and then I had one when I was about 24,
Mm-hmm.
and one when I was like between 26 and 27. So what is that for?
4 total. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. What was the first one like? Why did you realize in retrospect that it was a manic episode?
Honestly, just learning more about bipolar disorder
Mm-hmm.
and accepting, because I was in huge denial for a long time. I refused to believe or consider that I had bipolar disorder because my mother does. And so it was a really negative association for me.
Mm-hmm.
But once I learned more about bipolar disorder and accepted, I think I already had been diagnosed. Yeah, I had been diagnosed by this point and accepted that I had it. I'd been thinking back, and that episode was like, um, so it started with a bout of just increased productivity. I was very, very productive, very outgoing, on top of absolutely everything. I needed very little rest for a long time. And for a while, I was kind of riding that peak high where like I wasn't doing anything crazy. I wasn't doing any bullshit. Like I just had a lot of energy. I was on top of everything. I was really social, really outgoing. And then after, I'm going to say like a month or two of that, then things got bad. And so when it all kind of really came to a head, I hadn't slept for maybe like 3 or 4 days. And I was working on a school project. I'd been compulsively scratching for
Mm.
weeks. I was like till I bled and got these
Wow.
horrible, like scaly looking scabs on me from scratching.
Mm.
So I'd been doing that for weeks. I hadn't been eating. I'd just been smoking, not sleeping, working on this project for school and I was agitated, very irritable.
Mm-hmm.
I just snapped at like anything. And then one night while I was working on this project, I had a panic attack, my first ever like actual panic attack. I'd experienced anxiety my whole life, but I thought that I was having a heart attack. I laid down and I was like, my chest hurt so bad. I couldn't move. And I had this sense that I was going to die. And that went on for probably like, it's really hard to say. Looking back, I would say maybe 20, 25 minutes. Um, and then I kind of came out of it and I just laid there. And then the next day, it was like I had like a hangover from it. I was like jumpy, and also I hadn't slept and all this different stuff. And that night, my dad came over. He didn't live with me. And I told my dad, something is wrong with me and I need help.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad took me to my pediatrician the next day, and I like explained what was going on to the best of my ability. I explained the things that I thought were wrong. So the sleeping very little for a long, long time, I didn't mention that because that didn't seem like a problem. The fact that I hadn't slept for 3 or 4 nights, I did mention that because that seemed like a problem. I mentioned the scratching, the panic attack, the fact that I had always experienced anxiety and different things like that. And they put me on Wellbutrin,
Mm-hmm.
because she wanted to medicate me before I had a chance to see a psychiatrist because she was really concerned.
Okay.
So that was basically my first manic episode. I started taking the Wellbutrin, and the episode seemed to end and things got weird and I started getting really suicidal.
Is Wellbutrin an antidepressant?
It is an antidepressant, it's an NDRI, And there is, as far as I know, an increased risk in suicidality for adolescents on Wellbutrin because I take Wellbutrin now and I don't have any of those problems.
Mm,
But I stopped taking Wellbutrin pretty quickly then.
wow.
But yeah, that was my first manic episode.
Pretty intense stuff, and lots of the classic signs of mania for sure, especially the lack of sleep, the agitation. Sounds very dysphoric. You know, a lot of times people are like, oh, mania, that means you're happy. But in this case, it sounds like it made you just really on edge. The way I describe it to people is like a cocaine high almost, or like the come down from a cocaine high, just that really frenetic, unhinged energy. So,
Heard that word dysphoric used in that context before, but that's actually perfect because I get very frustrated with the common conception of mania because generally, except for that period during my first manic episode that I described preceding the crash where I was just very productive. After that episode, I've never had that again. My
mhm.
manic episodes are not euphoric. They're extremely dysphoric from the beginning.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that for the audience. It's good to hear real life examples of that because there's so many misconceptions about the nature of this condition.
This is the point in the conversation where we discuss hypersexuality for a little bit. Like I said in the intro, it's not graphic, just giving you a heads up in case you're sensitive to this sort of subject matter.
I know that before the show, you mentioned that you wanted to talk a little bit about hypersexuality, which is one symptom of mania. Do you want to get into that a little bit?
Yeah, I do. So I've experienced a lot of hypersexuality in my life. I've spent a lot of time thinking about it because it's very hard to separate and figure out like, okay, where does the hypersexuality that is associated with my mental illness end and me just being a very sexual person begin? Because I do think that both elements are at play. Um, but I definitely have experienced hypersexuality during more during hypomanic periods than actual manic periods because like during manic periods I'm just not functioning super well.
Hmm.
Like at the beginning I'll have in my three subsequent manic episodes I'll start with like grandiose ideas and feelings of like just general grandiosity and I'll have all these plans. And then it very quickly devolves into the dysphoric feeling, which does not make me feel hypersexual at all. But when I'm feeling hypomanic, I do get hypersexual. But recently, I experienced a really interesting phenomenon, which was in my 6 month depressive episode that I recently had. I went through or am going through, or perhaps maybe not at all, I'm not sure, a phase of hypersexuality.
Mm.
Um, when it started pretty near the beginning of when I got depressed back in late September. Um, One of the coping mechanisms that I ended up using was having sex. And like I didn't consciously think of it as a coping mechanism. It was just like, okay, there's not a lot that I'm interested in doing. I am interested in doing this thing. So let me just do this thing then.
Hmm. Did it like take your mind off of the negative thoughts you were experiencing?
It did. Like, but only while I was with somebody else.
Hmm.
Um, Whenever I was alone, then it was just back to like the same old shit. But whenever, and I couldn't managed to occupy myself on my own for some reason.
Mhm.
So the only way I could ever be occupied or distracted was by being in the company of someone else. And the only way that I found myself in the company of other people was for the purpose of having sex
Hmm.
because I don't have any friends here.
Mm. Yeah, because you moved to a new city a couple of years ago, right?
I did. I moved to a new city 3 years ago. And for the first 2 years of living here, I lived kind of on the outskirts of the city with no transportation. And I didn't have a lot of opportunities to meet people, COVID, this, that, and the other thing. But then also, I just happened to not make friends. I didn't really make any friends at work. I don't really go many places but work.
Mhm.
And I never ended up clicking with anybody at my jobs, except for one person, but she moved away.
Yeah, I'm still super isolated down here too in my new town of Roanoke. It's been so strange meeting people, trying to meet people. It's really challenging and a huge energy drain too. But I hear you there. And I've been down here for about 8 months now. And the isolation factor has been something that really has messed with me. It's interesting that hypersexuality is something that you experience during depressive episodes too. But I also wonder if maybe it's just like a side effect of the need for companionship, and the circumstances that you tend to be hanging out with people who you meet through like apps or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean. Honestly, like while I was depressed, I feel like this sounds terrible, but the actual having sex was just like neither here nor there for me. Like sometimes it was good, sometimes it was bad, but like it wasn't even really about the sex for me. It was about the company, it was about feeling desirable, it was about having something to do and hanging out, and the fact that the only people I could find to hang out with were people from dating apps.
Mhm.
Because I didn't know where to go to meet people in real life. I wasn't really up to going anywhere to meet people in real life, being, depressed at the time. So I just went on dating apps and met up with people from there and was like, okay, yeah, cool, we can have sex.
Do you think that the dating app grind can become unhealthy though?
I do think the dating app grind can become unhealthy. I think that you have to be in I don't even think it has to be a healthy mindset, but it has to be a particular mindset in order for it not to wear you down. You have to be doing it with the understanding that a lot of people are not going to like you and it's fine. Um, you have to understand that tons of people are going to ghost you and it's fine. And you can't invest a lot into any of these connections like right away because 90% of them are going to go nowhere. You're not even going to meet them.
Yeah. I hate being ghosted though. That shit really messes with me after a certain
Everyone
point.
hates being ghosted, but
Yeah.
honestly, it's like a callus. You play guitar enough and it doesn't hurt your fingers anymore. You get ghosted enough and it doesn't hurt your feelings anymore.
I like that metaphor. It's still so frustrating though. I can't stand it.
Oh yeah, dude, totally.
Yeah.
And it's different for different people. It's different for like men on dating apps than like women, particularly cis women.
Mhm.
Um, we have more options. Like we get more interaction. It just is. We get more interaction, we get more matches, we have more people who are interested in us. Um, so it's a different experience.
Yeah. Do you think that hypersexuality can be dangerous?
I do think it can be very dangerous. Um, me personally, like, I've made all kinds of like risky decisions, unsafe decisions. It's just, it can be unsafe for your mental health because, like, if you're not in a place to not let these things bother you, that constant stream of rejection and objectification, because I mean, this probably doesn't happen to you, but a lot of the first lines I get are, "I want to bend you over."
Oh
Like,
my god.
yeah, seriously.
Ugh.
So a constant stream of that, and like, "Hey, I like you," and then nothing, and like meeting people once and having a really intimate night with them and then they never speak to you again. A lot of that is going to be really damaging to your mental health.
Mhm.
Um, when you're hypersexual, you're not always practicing safe sex, both in terms of like using like condoms, protection, and like going to the safest places. So, hypersexuality, I think, is definitely one of the more dangerous hallmarks of mania, and just in general, if you're experiencing hypersexuality for any reason.
Definitely. I agree with that. Now, we were also, before we started recording, we were talking a little bit about marijuana. You lit up a joint right as we started rolling here, which is cool with me. But I wanted to ask, like, how has marijuana impacted you? Does it help with your stability or does it hurt your stability?
That has had like differing impacts on me over the years. I've been smoking on and off since I was 16 years old. Um, I started when I was a sophomore in high school, and I've gone through periods where I smoke really heavily. I've gone through like probably like months to a year where I didn't smoke at all. Um, and periods where I smoke like occasionally or like a bowl or two when I come home. Currently, I smoke all the time. As Hunter indicated, I lit up right before we started the pod. And so, in ways that it helps, sometimes it calms my anxiety. I get very nauseous when I get anxious, and I get these random bouts of nausea, and weed really helps with that. Like, it's really the only thing that helps with that.
Yeah.
And if I'm having trouble sleeping, weed does tend to help me sleep. But in general, like for my stability, I don't really know that it helps me. I don't really know that it helps my mental health. Honestly, like if I'm in a bad headspace, I know I shouldn't smoke because I'll kind of get stuck in there. Like when I'm depressed, smoking is bad for me. I don't
Right.
smoke when I'm depressed because it makes me feel terrible.
Yeah. Marijuana is correlated with higher rates of depression too in like clinical studies and shit. So that's worth keeping in mind as well.
I know it sucks. Like,
But I like it. I mean, I use marijuana all the time. So does it impact my stability? I'm sure that it does. I took a break from it briefly a couple of weeks ago, and that was pretty nice. I avoided it for about a week and a half. And then I went back to it and I was just like, yep, this is pretty cool. I like it.
yeah, I mean, some things are just fun.
It's such a relaxing drug. I mean, the body high is just really, really chill, and it helps me unwind a lot. Helps me just kind
Absolutely.
of unplug and listen to music or whatever.
And like nothing bad happens when I smoke weed. You know, like I don't go out and start a fight. Like I don't like fall down. I don't throw up. I don't feel like shit the next day. Like just nothing bad happens to me. So I get all the nice effects of like, ooh, I get to be stoned, I get to unwind, I get to feel a little high, like this is chill for a while. And then it's done and it's over and it's cool. And if I decide I'm not going to smoke for a week or smoke for 2 weeks, I'm not going to get dope sick. Like, I'm not going to get the shakes or start sweating.
Hmm.
So, like everything, it has its pros and its cons. And it's right for some people, not right for other people.
Do you use any drugs besides marijuana?
I do actually. I occasionally do cocaine. I used to do cocaine not so occasionally,
Mhm,
and I used to have a much harder time stopping doing cocaine.
mhm.
The last couple times I have done it, were not responsible decisions, but I also did not go on binges either. So,
Good job. That's called
yay for
harm
me.
reduction. Harm
Yeah.
reduction right there. Compared to marijuana, how would you say cocaine impacts stability?
Well, stability totally wrecks my stability because some people can like buy a gram of coke on the weekend and like do it while they're partying or whatever, and then they run out and they go home and they go to sleep. But I like to have a lot of cocaine and keep doing it not until I run out of cocaine, but until I run out of money
Mhm,
for the cocaine.
mhm.
So that's pretty bad for my stability. Um, I stop sleeping and I just want to party and do coke all the time.
Yeah, and that's definitely not a healthy lifestyle.
No, no, it is not.
How were you
So
able to not go on binges this most recent time that you dabbled in it?
yeah, okay. Partly, I didn't have the money to go on a binge, so there's
Mhm,
that. Um, and then partly, like I was in a better place. Sometimes when I can't stop doing coke, it's because I'm so miserable and I hate my life so much that cocaine is the only way that I can feel good. It is the only way out of the hole. Um, Whereas during times in my life where I am more stable, I can do it more casually. Like, yeah, it's not responsible. And while I'm doing it, I tend not to be very responsible with my money. But like, I can stop because, well, if you've done cocaine out there, you reach a point. Well, if you've done enough cocaine out there, you reach a point where it hurts, not fun anymore. So you have to stop for the night. And then once you've stopped for the night, it's not like cocaine is your only chance at having a good time or being happy or enjoying anything at all. I'm like, oh, okay, I ran out of cocaine. I went to sleep. I woke up. Now, like, oh, I could go have a great breakfast, or like, I don't know, I could hit up my fuck buddy and have sex,
mm,
or like, I could go do some other thing that I enjoy that doesn't cost me a few $100s. Whereas, like, when I'm depressed, cocaine is, I know, the only thing that I will enjoy.
mhm.
So it's really hard to stop.
Wow. It's a dangerous and powerful drug. Well, be careful out there with all
Yeah,
that.
I don't recommend anybody do it at
Yeah,
all.
definitely don't recommend anyone do cocaine. That's a pretty hardcore drug. That's a pretty hard substance for sure. I know that I've dabbled in it a little bit back when I was in college, and I was always like, "Ooh, this is a little too much for me." So I kind of like stayed away from stimulants for the most part. But yeah, it's a popular drug, and also, I mean, with the cross contamination and stuff with fentanyl these days,
I
that
was
really
gonna
freaks me
say
out.
that would be the main reason that I recommend people not do it. And if you are gonna do it and you live in a big city, actually here in Pittsburgh, they have it too. A lot of cities have free testing kits,
Mhm.
so go get you some.
Definitely. Well, what other advice do you have for the audience?
Other than my stellar advice of getting a drug testing kit for your cocaine,
Yeah.
uh, um, that's a good question. Honestly, just be very intentional. Like, pay attention to the things in your life that are working for you and not working for you. Just like really whether you're doing well or you're doing poorly, just like every now and then take some time to like reflect, look at things and be like, okay, hey, smoking weed every day has been like really bumming me out. Maybe not do that. Or hey, smoking weed every day has really been like helping me with my anxiety. Maybe that's a thing I should keep. Going to bed at this time has been working or not working. Going to therapy has been working or not working. These meds, whatever. And like one of the ways that I do that is by keeping a journal. Um, but you don't have to. You can just sit and think sometimes.
I hope people take that under advisement for sure. Intentionalness, slowing down, keeping track of things in your life in a kind of documented way. That's cool.
Yeah, that's me. I live by the planner. I like to write everything down. I'm a tracker. I track everything.
Nice. Is there anything you're looking forward to in the coming months?
There is. I at my current job, I work at a community college. After I hit my 6 month point there, I can return or I can take classes tuition free. So I plan to go back to school. I've been there almost 2 months now. So in about 4 months, that'll kick in. So I plan to go back to school, ideally spring 2024. I'm moving into a new place soon, and I may have that lockdown. I have a date tonight. Yeah,
Nice.
I got some shit coming up.
Well, I wish you all the best with that. Finally, do you have anything you would like to plug, any social media or any projects that you've been working on?
Sort of. I really just want to plug this podcast that I finally came back on. What am I talking about? You can't plug the podcast on the podcast.
So meta.
Yeah, like that was meta, and that's not how that works.
You can plug the podcast on the podcast if you want to.
I just want to plug this podcast because I think it's a great project. I think it's a great idea. And I really want it to go far. And I've told Hunter if there's anything I can do to help him make that happen, I'm more than willing.
So awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. All right, Dalena. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure speaking with you today.
Thanks for having me back.
Thanks for listening to this installment of Bipolar Recorder. I'm on Twitter at HHKeegan. Bipolar Recorder is on Twitter, Mastodon, Instagram, and Wisdom at Bipolar Recorder. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review if you've been enjoying this show. My name is Hunter Keegan. Have a great day, evening, or night, wherever you are. Bipolar Recorder is a listener-supported show. To help keep the show running, consider checking out our Patreon page or visiting bipolarrecorder.com.
Unless otherwise stated, the hosts and guests on Bipolar Recorder are not licensed mental health professionals. Bipolar Recorder is not a substitute for therapy or professional medical intervention. If you are having a mental health crisis, please contact your local emergency services.